Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's having a great day. It's Dr. Roddenberry streaming to you live from Chautauqua Institution in Western New York. This is the last broadcast of the semester. We are now ready to do our exam review. Who do we have in class today? If you're in class, go ahead and type me a message in the chat bar. Let me know you're here. I'm going to go ahead. I see we have about 4 or 5 people, it looks like. Fantastic. Thanks for coming today. Hi, Daniel. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Fantastic. All right. Cool. Good deal. I see Adrian's here. The crafty table is here. Fantastic. Wow. Good audience. Fantastic. Thanks for coming today. Let's go ahead. Let me see. I'm going to go ahead and go to this exam real quick. I thought I had logged into the exam. Obviously, it logged me back out. Okay, the exam is going to be... Hold on just a second. Okay, sorry, I'm back. I had to log into my program. I've forgotten to log into Blackboard. And I've got a bunch of hotkeys set up so it messes with my screen when I'm trying to log in. Okay, we got 5 people here. Fantastic. Hi, Gustavo. Good to see you, man. All right. For this exam, I don't have things organized by chapter, so it's going to be a little bit more convoluted for this exam review. Let's go ahead and start talking. Some things you need to know for this exam. All right. Number 1, let's see. Let's see. Whiteboard. 50 questions. 60 minutes. Multiple choice. True, false, matching. Due Sunday at 11:59 p.m. No late exams. All right, throughout this semester, I've been a little bit more flexible about due dates. Because I understand students have busy schedules and you're doing your best to get things worked out. So if you've turned in a homework assignment late here or there, fine. Some of you have called me from time to time and said, hey, I can't get the exam due on Sunday night at 11:59. Can I get it done Monday night? And I've let you do that. However, for this final exam, there are no late exams accepted. I have to turn my grades in Monday morning at 9 a.m., which means I will not be able to accept any late work. Is that cool? Sorry to be like this. Typically, I don't do it, but because of the speed of summer school, I don't have any flexibility on the last exam. So you need to make sure you get it to me on time. Is everybody cool with that? And I do apologize for that. But it's the way it works on this one. Okay, so I'm just going to give you some things that I think you need to know for this semester. Okay, let me get my full text question display here. Okay, so from chapter 1, you need to know the fathers of psychology. What did they do? Okay, definitely need that. And then let's see. Then from chapter 1, and the other thing from chapter 1 is you need to know the subfields of psychology. And this one is especially important because I'm going to ask you probably forgot to share you my whiteboard here. Okay, so we need to know the fathers of psychology. What do they do? You need to know the subfields of psychology because I probably have at least 5 questions. At least 5 questions about the subfields. That is a really, 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 really important one to know. Okay, then 3. All right, and then from chapter 2, we need to know brain areas. Now let me go through. Let's see. You need to know what the pineal gland does. You need to know what the suprachiasmatic nucleus does. Let me go through here and see if I can find. Okay, none of those. Clinical. Fusiform gyrus. Okay. Pons. Hold on, I'm going through to make sure. Hypothalamus. Frontal lobe. You need to know that one. Hold on. Okay. So, specifically, I'm trying to be specific. I want you to know all the brain areas as a general rule, but those 6 brain areas will have questions on this exam. So make sure that you know what the pineal gland does. Now, the key here is pay attention, read carefully about the suprachiasmatic nucleus and the pineal gland, okay? Because those are 2 structures involved in sleep. The suprachiasmatic nucleus regulates your sleeping cycle and ties it to the day, to the light of the day, all right? And then it causes your pineal gland to secrete melatonin, which starts you on your sleep process. So I want you to know the SCN in the pineal gland, and I've got 2 questions, one on each, so it can be tricky. The pineal gland is which one creates the melatonin, okay? The SCN is the one that's tied to the sun. Now keep in mind, if you destroy the suprachiasmatic nucleus, all cyclical sleeping behavior goes away, all right? You just have no periodic sleeping and waking cycle if the suprachiasmatic nucleus is destroyed. Can anybody tell me, what does the fusiform gyrus do in the temporal lobe? Can somebody tell me what the fusiform gyrus is for? Okay. Can anybody tell me what the hypothalamus is for? Okay. Remember, recognize faces. Very good, Lewis. Awesome. And the hypothalamus, facial recognition. Okay, fantastic. Remember, your hypothalamus is responsible for all of your motivated behavior. Okay, so everything that has sort of it maintains your heat level at the right level. It tells you when to eat when you're hungry. It tells you when you're sexually aroused. Which part of your brain is responsible? Which of your 4 lobes is responsible for thinking deeply, for thinking deeply and really focusing? Is it the occipital lobe, the frontal lobe, the temporal lobe, or the parietal lobe? Which one is responsible if you're thinking and processing information? The frontal lobe. Fantastic. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good deal. Very good. All right, cool. You cats actually learned something this semester. I don't know if you learned it from me, but you obviously know something about the brain, which we'll take as a frontal lobe. Man, all right. Solid work, students. Solid, solid work. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm going to go back up here. I saw a question that I want to talk about. Okay. So there is a matching question. Matching neurotransmitters to their effects. Okay, so let's see. So we have acetylcholine, serotonin, GABA, dopamine, and endorphins. Okay, so which one of these neurotransmitters is responsible for emotions? Which of these neurotransmitters would you say is responsible for emotions? Can anybody tell me? I'll wait for just a second. I'll bet you folks probably know. Let's see, come on. Who knows it? Serotonin, absolutely. Fantastic, Daniel Rodriguez. Louis Tapia, okay, fantastic. Man, you folks are showing off today. Okay, which one of these neurotransmitters is responsible for, is associated with anxiety? Which one of these neurotransmitters is associated with anxiety? Who can tell me that? Let's see if we have a smart person here. Who do we have that's a smart person that can tell me that? Which one do we have? Louis Tapia. Very good with the GABA again. Solid work, my friends. Solid work. Okay. Which one of these is responsible for motor muscle control, memory, attention, and learning? Which of the three left is responsible for attention, memory, and learning? Does anybody know? Let's see if we have an answer there. Who knows? Which one? Acetylcholine by the Crafty Table. Solid work, Crafty Table. Solid work. Okay, so we know GABA's for anxiety. Serotonin is mood. Acetylcholine is memory, attention, and learning. Which one of these neurotransmitters is nope, I'm sorry, Daniel, for this one. For acetylcholine. Yes, I'm sorry, Daniel. Yes. All right, fantastic. Now, which one of these last two neurotransmitters is pain reduction, is your natural painkiller? Is it dopamine or is it an endorphin? Quick. What do we think? Go ahead and type in the answer. Which one of these remaining two? Endorphins. Fantastic. And that means that dopamine is going to be for smooth motor control, rewards, and motivation. Remember, if you have low levels of dopamine, you're going to have those Parkinson-like symptoms. Okay, so there's going to be a matching question on the neurotransmitters. Okay, let's see. All right, that one's subfields of psychology. There's Wilhelm Wundt, William James, Gustav Fechner, and John Watson. Those are the ones I want you to know. Okay. Let's see. Neurotransmitters, the pawns. Okay. All right, let's see. Okay. Then there's a question on attachment theory. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Before we go on that, myelin tissue. Is it a result of, actually, you know what? I'm just going to ask you the question. I'm just going to tell you what I want you to know for this one. For the myelin tissue, remember, the brain changes in two ways. It changes by the addition of myelin tissue that grows around your axons, and also the dendrites spread and get more complex. The dendritic connections spread and get more complex as we learn things. The one thing I want you to know is I want you to know that myelin tissue does not result as a function of stimulation. It occurs in a programmed fashion. Actually, I will put that. Myelin tissue. Let's say myelin tissue. Programmed growth. Okay? Pay attention to that word. That's what I want you to know. There's a question that asks you about myelin tissue, and the answer is it grows in a programmed fashion. Okay? That's cool. All right. Attachment theory. Do you remember the strange situation paradigm? What was Ainsworth looking for? Okay. Now, do you folks remember in her study, she had the children come in with their primary caregiver, and then they were separated from their caregiver 2 different times. She was looking at the children's reaction. Specifically, what reaction was she looking for? Can anybody type that in the chat bar? What exactly, and what was important to her, to Mary Ainsworth? Do you folks remember? In the attachment study, she was looking at, she separated children from their primary caregiver 2 times. What was she looking for? Do you remember? What was important to her? Was it how the children reacted when she left the room, when the mom left the room? The reaction, there you go, Daniel. She was looking at how the children reacted when they came back into the room. Keep that in mind. I have a question about that. That's what she was interested in. Very good. Okay, fantastic. You folks know that. Now, I do have one question on the 3 attachment styles, okay? Let's see. Secure, avoidant, and ambivalent. Remember this, secure children were easily calmed. The avoidant children, when the mom came back, they seemed angry with mom. And the ambivalent children were clingy. The ambivalent children were clingy. So, I've got a question. It says 15-month-old toy, blah, 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 blah. And it explains how this child acts. And I want you to tell me, is this kid secure? Is this kid avoidant? Is this kid ambivalent? Okay? When they returned. Yeah, all the children cried. Crafty table, all the children cried when mom left. That's just a normal thing. The thing was, the children, she wanted to know how the children responded when they were reunited with the mother. And the secure children quit crying immediately and then started exploring. The avoidant children were crying, but they were sort of angry at the mom. And the ambivalent children were super duper clingy. They couldn't stop crying and they couldn't stop hugging their mom. Okay, let's see. Okay, and then let's see. Actually, you know what? I'm starting to use these. Can y'all see this? How does this look on my screen? I'm gonna flip this over and use the back of this page. Okay, yeah, right. Okay, behaviorism. Okay, that's chapter 6. Chapter 6. John Watson and little Albert. Let's see. What did John Watson demonstrate with little Albert? Can anybody tell me what was the important thing that John Watson showed in his little Albert study? I'm going to be up here looking at these other questions to make sure I have the rest of the behaviorism questions. Can anybody tell me what he demonstrated? Let's see. Does anybody know? Classical conditioning, a learned fear, a phobia specifically, a phobia. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, fantastic, Daniel. Crafty table, both of y'all know. Fantastic. Okay, then what I want you to know is there's a question. There's a question on positive punishment versus positive reinforcement. Okay, now here's the deal. Positive and positive, the difference between positive punishment and positive reinforcement. Positive means you add something, and punishment makes the behavior go away, and reinforcement makes the behavior become more frequent. So positive punishment is adding something to stop somebody from engaging in a behavior. Okay? In positive reinforcement, you add something positive so that the person will keep doing the behavior. So an example is in positive punishment, if you do something I don't want you to do, I might spank you. I might add pain to you in order to stop you from ever doing that behavior. Okay? In positive reinforcement, let's say you made an A in your class, so I give you $50 so you study hard in the next class. Both positive punishment and positive reinforcement, the teacher is giving something to the learner. The difference is whether or not that thing causes the behavior to quit occurring or the behavior to occur. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Okay. Now, I want you to be able to analyze a classical conditioning example. Remember, we need to know what the UCS, the UCR, the CS, and the CR are. Do y'all remember that part? Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example and see if we can do this. Okay. So here's an example. Let's say this guy, Fred, is taking chemotherapy for cancer. All right. One of the side effects of taking chemotherapy is that it makes you throw up. You take the chemotherapy, you then throw up. All right. And you don't have to learn that. That just that's what chemotherapy, it's a poison. That's what it does. Now, here's the deal. this guy Fred, I forget, did I say Fred? Fred went out before his first treatment for chemotherapy and had some pizza. He ate some pizza. He then went and did chemotherapy, and then he got sick. 3 weeks later, his wife suggests they go out for pizza, and Pete gets sick on his stomach. Okay? So can anybody tell me, in this example, what was the unconditioned stimulus? Can anybody tell me? So, Pete eats a pizza, he takes chemotherapy, he vomits because of the chemotherapy. 2 weeks later, his wife wants him to go out and have pizza, and the thought of pizza makes him sick. Which one of these is the unconditioned stimulus? Can anybody tell me what's the unconditioned stimulus in this? I'm going to go ahead and wait for an answer here to see. Can anybody tell me? Oh, come on now. The chemotherapy, chemo is the unconditioned. Absolutely. No, Lewis, close, but no. Crafty Tables got it right. An unconditioned stimulus causes a response that you don't have to learn. It's a reflex. Okay, so chemo is the unconditioned stimulus. Now, what's the automatic outcome of taking the chemo? What is your unconditioned response? Can anybody tell me what the unconditioned response would be? What would be the unconditioned response? Throwing up after chemo. Absolutely. Now, in classical conditioning, you associate a neutral stimulus with this unconditioned stimulus reflex response, and it causes you to learn something new and to have a new response. So what is the conditioned stimulus in this example? Lewis, Daniel, do y'all want to help me out? What's the conditioned stimulus here? The conditioned stimulus. Thinking about pizza, absolutely. And what's the conditioned response? What happens after he has paired the pizza with this reflex? He's paired the chemo with the pizza. What is the conditioned response? Disgust. Disgust at the thought of pizza. Absolutely. Fantastic. All right, folks. You know what? I'm going to actually give you a little hint here. I'm going to give you a little hint. Because you folks were cool enough to come here today, I actually gave you the example that we're going to use on the exam. This pizza example is the exact question on the exam. So be able to recall that when we get to the exam, if you could, okay? Let's see. So, then there's a question. You know what? Here's the deal. Let's say I had this say I had this really cool reward in this class. What I'm going to do is, I'm not actually going to do this, but let's say I told you that all of the students who had an A in my class before the final exam would not have to take the final exam. Okay? Is that reinforcement or punishment? I tell you at the beginning of the semester, all of the students who maintain an A throughout the class, at the end of the exam, I will not make you take the exam. Is that a reinforcement or a punishment? Can somebody tell me? Is that a reinforcement or a punishment? And Daniel goes ahead and goes all the way straight to the end and says it's negative reinforcement. Daniel, fantastic. You are right on the money, my friend. That is negative reinforcement. I want you to be familiar with that, okay? So let's then talk about cognitive psychology. Cognitive psychology. Cognitive psych. Okay. Here's what say. Let's see. Okay. So I want you to. There is a chunking example on the exam. There's a chunking example. All right. And I want you to identify it. Identify the chunking. Can anybody tell me what chunking is? Can anybody tell me what does it mean to say that you're using chunking as a memory tool? Can anybody remember? Does anybody remember that? I'd be curious. There's a chunking example. Okay, let's see. Does anybody know what chunking is? Grouping similar information into groups to help you. Right. So if I told you that I wanted you to remember let's say I have 15 letters I want you to remember in a row. I'm going to say these 15 letters to you and I want you to remember them, okay? Here we go. Here are the 15 letters. FBI, CIA, ESPN, MLB, NFL, right? So what you're going to do is instead of thinking about those as individual letters, you're going to go FBI is the Federal Bureau of Investigation. CIA is another spy organization. ESPN is a sports channel. And so instead of thinking about individual letters, you're chunking them together in groups to help you remember. Absolutely. So Louis, Daniel, Gustavo, you are all correct. I want you to know that, okay? And then I have I have questions on the Atkinson, Schifrin model of memory. Remember, we have the sensory memory. We have the short-term memory and the long-term memory. I don't know if you remember that. There you go, Gustavo. Absolutely. Gustavo's showing off that he actually knows that. Very, very impressive. Uh-oh. There we go. Sorry. Had to change that. Sensory memory, short-term memory, long-term memory. Okay, here's the deal. If I asked you who the first president of the United States was, and you knew that information, where were you storing that information? Is it in your sensory memory, your short-term memory, or your long-term memory? Can anybody tell me? Where do you store information that you're going to need later? Does anybody remember? Fantastic. Yes, Crafty Table. Good deal. All right. When we talk about the magic number 7 plus or minus 2, does anybody remember what we're referring to? Which memory size are we referring to when we say 7 plus or minus 2? Which of these memory structures can hold 5 to 9 chunks of information at any given time. Does anybody remember? Does anybody remember? The short-term memory, fantastic. Absolutely. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. Let's see. Another question, cognitive psych. And then I've got a couple questions that ask you to identify the subfield of cognitive psych. But those really are the only two that I can see that relate to. Yeah, those are the only two that I can see that relate to cognitive psychology. Okay. Let's see what we got. Okay. Let's see. What's the difference between aptitude, a test of aptitude versus a test of achievement? I have one question which asks you that. So this final exam that I'm giving you, is it a test of aptitude or a test of achievement? Can somebody tell me? Is the final exam for this class a test of attachment or a test of achievement? Does anybody know? I was wondering if anybody know. This final exam, it's an achievement test, right? This test doesn't tell me how quickly you can learn, how clever you might be. It just tells me if you knew what I was asking you. On the other hand, an IQ test measures your ability to learn, so it is a test of aptitude, okay? Now, there's a question, let's see. Let's see. Do you folks, there's one question, it's kind of in chapter 2, and it's also in the stress chapter. Do you folks know? Let's see, what is that? Let me see the question. Okay, do you folks know sympathetic versus parasympathetic nervous system? Nervous system. Nervous system. If I scared you, which of these two and you got aroused, which of these two systems would be at work? Which of these two systems? Yes, Gustavo, you were right with the aptitude test for the exam. Okay. Very good, Lewis. I like your description there. Fantastic. So being scared and having a severe arousal response, is that a sympathetic response or a parasympathetic response? Which one, folks? Which one? Does anybody know? I'd be curious. Nope. Sorry, Lewis. Nicholas, you are right. It is a sympathetic nervous response. The sympathetic nervous system is all the nerves. The autonomic nervous system is all the nerves that go to your internal organs. The sympathetic nerves cause your organs to act in a certain way when you are scared. The parasympathetic nervous system does the exact opposite when you are relaxed, okay? So you have these nerves. So when you get scared, when you get scared, your heart starts beating fast. That's a sympathetic nerve causing your heart to start beating fast because you're scared. Now, there's also a nerve that goes to your heart, and as soon as the bear leaves and you're not scared anymore, that parasympathetic nerve stops your heart from beating so fast. It slows your heart down. So, crafty table, Lewis, make sure you go back and clarify the difference between a sympathetic nervous response and a parasympathetic nervous response, okay? Let's see. Oh, and I do have a sensory memory question. Let's see. Oh, 7 universal emotions. Cross-cultural research has supported the idea of universal emotions. Okay? Let's see. Okay. Social psych. I have several social psych questions in here. I want you to know, there's a question about Solomon Ash's line judging study. There's a question about Stanley Milgram shock experiment. Okay. Does anybody know which of these two studies showed that people would be willing to agree with a clearly incorrect majority? Which one of these two studies demonstrates that you can get people to go along with something that they think is wrong? Which one? Do y'all know? The line judging. Very good, Nick. Very good. Okay. And then what did Stanley Milgram's shock experiment show? Does anybody know what Stanley Milgram's what the point of his study was? Very good, crafty table. Very good, Lewis. What did Stanley Milgram show in his? What was the whole point that he was trying to prove? Even if dangerous, yes, but more importantly, what will they do? A legitimate authority, but they'll do actually bad things. They will actually do violent things if they think that the authority, the person who is telling them, is a legitimate authority. Very good, Nicholas. Fantastic job. You are definitely good. Good. Okay, so let's say let's see. So, let's see. Hold on. Come on. Okay. What is the difference between a dispositional or personal? God, my handwriting sucks. There's a difference between situational attribution and dispositional, or I think your book may even refer to it as a personal attribution. Okay? Yes, Gustavo, I like the way you describe that. Fantastic. Okay, so a dispositional attribution. What is an attribution? An attribution is my explanation for why somebody does something. If I think that you students are all here because you are very smart, motivated students. Am I making a situational or a dispositional attribution? So they asked me, why did Lewis come to the exam review? And I said, oh, because Lewis is a really smart person. That's a dispositional attribution. On the other hand, Nicholas, why did Nicholas come to this review session? Well, because he's not busy this morning. That's a situational attribution. So if let's say I meet you and I say that and you're rude to me, and I say, and somebody says, why was that student rude to you? And I say, well, that student is just a rude person. That's a dispositional attribution. On the other hand, if a student's rude to me and I say, well, you know what? That student's just having a bad day. That's a situational attribution. Now, can somebody please tell me what is the actor-observer bias? I have a question asking you to know what the actor-observer bias is. The actor-observer bias. I'll give you a second to type that in. Does anybody remember? That has to do with attributions, and it's the pattern which people use to make attributions. Can anybody tell me about that? What is that? I'm going to wait for a second while you try to type that in, and then I'll tell you. Yes. Well, yeah, kind of. Keep going, Crafty. Most people, when asked why they do something mean or why they do something, they will use a situational attribution. Why were you mean to that student? Oh, I'm busy. I had a bad day. I'm not feeling well. I'm sick. So there you go, Daniel. You attribute your behavior to your situation, but observers attribute your behavior to a dispositional reason. Absolutely. So when I'm rude, it's because I'm having a bad day. When you're rude, it's because you're just a rude person, okay? And we all engage in that thing. So if you've ever waited tables and ever been rude to a customer, you say, wow, I'm just rude because I had 7 tables and I was busy. But the person at the table is going to say, wow, you're just a rude person. Fantastic. Yes, Crafty, fantastic. Okay. Now, also, bystander apathy. We didn't have time to talk about this. We ran out of time in class. But bystander apathy is the phenomenon people are less likely to help in an emergency if other people are present. Okay? There is a question on bystander apathy. Okay? Fantastic, Crafty. Oh my goodness, and we're about out of time. Let's see. You know what? There's 2 questions on the Big 5. There are 2 questions. Know the 5 traits of the Big 5. Openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. I have 2 questions on the exam that describe a person, and you have to tell me what trait I'm talking about. So, for example, if I was to say Fred is an angry, emotional person who has trouble controlling his temper, which of the Big 5 traits does he probably score high in? Would it be conscientiousness, neuroticism, openness to experience, or agreeableness? Can anybody tell me? Can anybody tell me? Which of these 5 traits would it be? If you have a bad temper, which trait are you high in? Conscientiousness, neuroticism, openness, or agreeableness. Fantastic. Neuroticism. I do want you to know the difference between let's see. Okay. And then two final things. I got to go because I've got my next review session coming up. You need to know the difference between informational and normative influence. And that's in chapter 12. There we go. And then I want you to know the difference between projective and self-report personality tests. And that's chapter 13, where you'll find that information. Okay. You know, folks, I'm sorry. I am running out of time because I've got class, my other class in just a few minutes. I'm sorry it maybe wasn't as organized. I actually read you some of the text of some of these examples that I want you to know. Everything I told you on this review is going to be on the exam. So those 5 brain parts, those are the 5 or 6 brain parts that you have to know. Focus on those, not the others. Focus on those neurotransmitters I specifically told you. The classical conditioning example I gave you is actually the one that's going to be on the exam. So I actually probably tipped off more of the exam than I should have, but I wanted to reward you folks. I wanted to give you a positive reinforcement for coming to class, okay? In fact, check this out. Y'all want to see you want to see some positive reinforcement here? Check this out. Here we go. How about this? Holy cow. Oh my goodness. What in the world? This might actually be the exam. Holy cow. Look at these questions. Holy cow. Okay, oops. Okay, that's enough of that reinforcement. Okay, I just wanted to give you a little help right there at the end. Okay. Cool. Hopefully that helped a little bit. No problem. Listen, this exam is due Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. I'm not joking. You have to have it done by 11:59 p.m. If something happens, you get in a car wreck, you get sick, you get injured, you get thrown in jail, whatever happens, give me a text immediately. If for some reason you're not going to be able to finish your exam by 11:59, then we'll try to figure something out. I don't know what I can do, but just remember, it's very important that you finish this exam on time. Okay, folks, I gotta go. It was good talking to you. Good luck this weekend. It's been a real pleasure having all of you in my class, and I really appreciate those of you who've come to my lectures and asked questions. It's made teaching this class a great experience for me. Y'all take care, and if you have any questions over the weekend, don't hesitate to send me a text or an email, okay? Bye, folks.